So this video will be covering effects in general. So we'll just go over some basic stuff. So cards actually have cost and effects. Not necessarily all cards, but it's important to know the difference and why they matter exactly. So we'll start with, for example, we have Dark Refer here. So Dark Refer says you can special summon this card from your hand by discarding one level 5 or higher dark monster. Is this an effect or a cost? Well, it's an old card, so it's kind of hard to tell, but it's actually a cost and not an effect. A similar card with an effect is Jekyll. This is kind of bullying, but yeah. You can discard one zombie monster, special summon this card from your hand. So, this is actually an effect to special summon, but it still has a cost. This is an inherent summon, but I won't try to confuse you guys with that too much. But basically, on all the newer cards, because there are older cards, so they'll be harder to read, but in general, if you see a semicolon like this, everything before the semicolon is a cost. So this here is cost, and what's the difference between cost and effect? So when you have to pay a cost, this happens before the chain resolves. This happens when you declare the card's effect. So for example, we have a good example here with this Fairy Tale Snow. Except I can't find Fairy Tale Snow here. Really? Alright, Fairy Tale Snow. Fairy Tale Snow effect here is you would target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face down defense position right there. No, that's wrong. If this card is in your graveyard, you could banish 7 other cards from your hand, field, and or graveyard. And then you see the semicolon there, right? So then here, this entire point here, that's kind of a cost. So you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls here. This kind of, well, basically everything with semicolons, this entire part of the card text here always happens before a chain resolution. Usually with every single targeting effect, you'll obviously target before the effect resolves, but then we can go ahead and go to like this bad boy. DPE, Destroyer, Phienex, Enforcer. There are no costs on this card, I believe, right? So this effect here, quick effect, you can destroy both one card you control and one card on the field. So when this happens, this all happens during the resolution of the chain, if that makes sense. We will cover more about chains in the next video, I suppose. But yeah, that's the basic concept for cost, I guess. But costs always have to be paid to like activate the effect. Like, for example, for Fairy Tale Snow there, if you can't target, you can't do the Book of Moon part of that effect. That is the case for every single card with a cost. Like, Forbidden Droplet is a pretty well-known one. So, Forbidden Droplet cost is send any numbers of other cards from your hand and or field to the graveyard. So, if this is legally not possible, then you can't activate Forbidden Droplet. For example, Macrocosmos is active, then it is literally impossible to send anything to the graveyard because it would be banished instead. So this card is just not activatable at all, and that's how that works. So regarding cost, for example, we have Blackwing Zephyros here. And you always have to meet, like, the cost pretty much exactly. So this says you can return one face-up card you control to the hand. So to activate this, you must return a face-up card you control to the hand. And to pay the cost for this, it has to do that, like, exactly. Like, for example, if you have a Dugaris on field and a Zephyros in your graveyard, and this is the only monster or only card you control on the field, you cannot summon back Zephyros because Dugaris is an extra deck monster and cannot go to your hand and would only be able to go to the extra deck. Therefore, Zephyros effect cannot be activated at all. And even when it can, it won't be able to ever target Dugaris. But, like, if we go look at, like, compulsory evacuation device, if you use an effect, like return that target to the hand with compulsory evacuation device on Dugaris, Dugaris will just return to the extra deck. So, costs, you have to be very specific, I guess. You have to meet the cost, like, exactly. If you don't meet the cost, like, the card can't activate. So, that's the gist of that. And then we'll cover, well, what I consider to be pain regarding card text. Well, I mean, of course you can just read the card and figure out what it does, but there's actually this lovely page here. Problem-solving card text. Woo, everyone's favorite. Problem-solving card text. Wow. So, on old cards, you'll notice that some of them actually will say, during either player's turn. But this just basically means quick effect. So this right here, quick effect, that is the same as this during either player's turn. So for older cards, that's just how it works. They say during either player's turn, but every more modern card or newer card will say quick effect rather than on either player's turn. But you just need to know it means the same thing. So this is pretty long, but we'll just be focusing on this here. So all card effects that make a chain link include a colon or a semicolon somewhere in the text, possibly both. If a card does not use either, it does not make a chain link. So I don't know what this exactly always entails. I don't know. This could be this can situationally change actually. So some of these kind of quote-unquote rules here, they actually can kind of change. It does not make a chain link, right? Let's see. So this here has a colon, so this will make a chain link. This has a... Does this have a colon? Yeah, that has a colon, so it starts a chain link, right? How about this? That has a colon, so that starts a chain link. So I guess this is how it works with all the newer cards. Surely, right? So if it has a colon, it starts a chain link. Okay. So then we look at Kali Yuga. And then, for example, Kali Yuga here. This entire part has no colon, so this does not start a chain link. And as you can see with the Kaiju as well, there are no colons here. So it does not start a chain link. There are no colons like here either, are there? Is there? Yeah, this starts a chain link. The burn part of Lava Golem. Alright. So, text before semicolon though. It is a cost and targeting. Alright. So built-in special summons aside from Synchro XYZ Pendulum or Link are denoted by parentheses stating the location from which the monster can be special summoned. Cards with bulleted effects that resolve on the same chain link specify whether they resolve simultaneously or sequentially. Sequentially, effects are applied in the order they are listed. In those cases, each effect activated resolves independent of the success of the others. And then, yeah. That's long. And then the terms that target, those targets, it, they, or them have specific meanings in the resolution of the effect. So this is just pain. It's not really too important. I think this is a little more important, but these are a little rough to work with. So like then is what I mostly wanted to focus on, because then it says here A is required for B, but not vice versa. If A does not happen, then stop. If B cannot happen, you can still do A. That is not necessarily always true. So we'll go back to Master Duel now. So we have this lovely card here, Nibiru. So if by looking at this card here, you can see this effect. After this condition is met, you can quick effect. This starts a chain. You attribute as many face-up monsters on the field as possible. And if you do special summon this card from your hand, then special summon one primal being token, whatever that is, to your opponent's field. And the token's attack defense becomes the combined original attack defense of the attributed monsters. And you can only use this effect of Nibiru the Primal being once per turn. So the next focus that we will have here is mandatory effects. So we'll just open some of these bad boys. Bam. So they'll be part of the... Well, we'll bring that up in a moment. Alright. So after you activate this card, of course, then you can tribute as many face-up monsters on the field as possible. That means both fields, I guess. Your opponent's zones, your zones, whatever. And if you do, you special summon this card from your hand. Then special summon one primal being token. So in this case, if you have, for example, a token collector on the field before Nibiru can meet its summon condition here, can you activate Nibiru? The answer is no. Because this then part here, the second part here, special summon a primal being token, it's actually a mandatory effect. So once you activate this, or before you can even choose to activate this condition for then actually has to be met. So if there is literally no way for you to summon the token, but you can still technically summon Nibiru, you still cannot activate Nibiru effect, and part A here does not activate, nor does B, which is kind of somewhat contradictory to what it says here. So there are exceptions to these, and it's just Yu-Gi-Oh rulings and all that, kind of a pain to kind of understand all of it. So then we'll move on to the, well, actually before that though, if let's say there was a token on field before, right? And then we go chain 1 Nibiru and then chain 2 token collector, then the effect would attempt to resolve as much as possible. So Nibiru does not fizzle. So actually it'll just tribute everything on the field and then summon the token, because token collector should no longer be on the field, because token collector happens after the Nibiru, I guess. But I'll explain more about the chains and such in the next video. So with Tri-Brigade Revolt here, similar thing going, special summon a number of your Beast, Beast Warrior, and or Winged Beast monsters that are banished and or in your graveyard but negate their effects. Then, immediately after this effect resolves, link summon one Tri-Brigade Link monster using only those monsters. So similar thing. So if Zombie World is on the field, all monsters on the field and in the graveyard become zombie monsters. Neither player can tribute summon monsters except for zombie monsters. This effect will turn everything that hits the field into a zombie. So technically, whenever you do this summon here, you won't have Beast Warriors or Winged Beasts, and you can only use, well, you can only use them to summon a Tri-Brigade Link monster, which you can't anymore, which is just, it just makes that effect not doable. Like, even though Beer Bro might say 2 Tri-Brigade monsters, you still can't even attempt to summon Beer Bum off of the Revolt, I believe. They're banished or your graveyard, but negate their effects. Yeah. Alright. This just can't happen. But if you go ahead and do chain 1 Revolt, chain 2 Banshee, it will still special summon the Beast, Beast Warrior, and or Winged Beast monsters that are banished and or in your graveyard but negate their effects. It'll do that much, but then it won't resolve this part. As you can see, all of this is non-optional, so once this activates, it has to happen. So, in a similar vein, we have Public, the Golden Lord. I'm flexing my alt art a little here. But anyways, this effect, you can send this card and 1 spell trap from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 card on the field. All of this is a cost. So if there is no card on the field for you to target, you cannot use this effect. Send it to the graveyard. Yep. And then if this card is in your graveyard, you can send 1 spell trap you control to the graveyard. Add this card to your hand. So for this here, if Macrocosmos was active, this is actually not doable, even if Golden Lord is in the graveyard. It is not possible to send a spell trap you control to the graveyard for that. And it says then you can special summon 1 zombie monster from your hand, and if you do. So this is actually an optional effect. I believe even if, for example, you triggered a El Shaddai Winda effect, and you have no more special summons, I believe you should still be able to add the Golden Lord to your hand in that case. It's kind of confusing, but we'll move on to mandatory effects now. So there are some cards that it's not optional to do so. Some of these effects you must do. If it doesn't happen, well, it will try to resolve, right? So, for example, all of the Dark World cards, they're actually all mandatory effects. So it says, if this card is discarded to the graveyard by card effect, target 1 card your opponent controls. Destroy that target. So, this is mandatory. It doesn't say can or anything like that. So you must do this. You have no choice. So if you have a Grapha, Dragon Lord of the Dark World, and for whatever reason, like your opponent activates card destruction on you, and then you're forced to discard your Grapha, then you have to activate this effect. It's completely required of you. You have no choice in the matter. Same with Brow. If Brow's discarded, same deal. Cerule, same deal. And this effect here, if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Dark World card, your opponent discards 1 card. So when this gets discarded, it will be special summoned to your opponent's field, and they will be forced to activate this effect to force the opponent, in this case it will be you again, to discard a card. All of this is mandatory. There is no option for this. You simply must do this. But for example, let's see. So we have, let's see if I can find it. We have Performable Pendulum Sorcerer. So on summon, you can target up to 2 cards you control, destroy them. So whenever you special summon Performable Pendulum Sorcerer, it's optional for you to destroy 2 cards you control. But like for the mandatory, it would force you to, if you special summon Performable Pendulum Sorcerer or whatever the condition is. So it's not something you have a choice in, right? You must do it. So that this is kind of important for certain game states, but not super important all the time. And then we'll talk about different types of removal now. So we can use the blanket term removal. So it's just anything that can, I guess, affect your opponent's monsters. Mostly like by getting them off the field in some way, shape, or form. So with Compulse, which I showed earlier, compulsory evacuation device, target one monster on the field, return that target to the hand. So return to the hand, this effect is called a bounce. Well, that's basically the slang term, I guess. You would consider it like that. But this is one form of removal. And then the most common, of course, being like destruction. So Raigeki, for example. Destroy all monsters your opponent controls. And of course, removal can apply to like a lot of different places. Like the deck, the extra deck, the hand, the field, the graveyard, whatever. So then there's also banish. Like, let's go with... Well, yeah. Doom King. Banish monster. So that just consider the... Well, it's kind of weird because there's technically no, like, banished zone. There's kind of just a banished pile somewhere. It's kind of jank still after all these years. I'm pretty sure on playmats still, there's like no spot for like a banished zone or anything, which is honestly pretty weird. Like there's some places you in TCG, I guess, when you're playing the physical card game, there's certain places you're like kind of supposed to put your banished cards, but it's just like, weird. I just mentioned that, but anyways, so the banished pile, I guess, is different from the graveyard, and cards usually need a specific location or place to activate and stuff like that, right? So the banish removal is pretty good, and then I guess we'll talk about it separately, but evenly matched, for example, banishes cards face down, which is different from normal banishing, but I won't super go into this, but when a card is banished face down, it technically has no identification. So cards that will target certain banished cards, they actually don't work anymore, like Return of the Zombies. Let's say you have a Doom King Ballad Rock banished face down. This effect has the effect to, well, yeah, you can shuffle one of your banished zombie monsters into the deck, but if it is face down, it cannot be identified as a zombie, so you cannot do the shuffle effect. So I think that's about what you need to know for this. And then there's also tributing. So Gamma Seal tributes one of your opponent's monsters, and then it special summons itself, whatever. And then the Winged Dragon of Ra, you can tribute summon this, like, via a normal summon. So these are a little bit different, and they matter a little bit. There's also Nibiru. So the fact that it's just tribute specifically means that, like, wait, wrong card. Alright, this one. Your opponent cannot tribute this card, face-up card on the field, so, for example, Diabolos cannot be tributed, meaning if you activate Nibiru, Nibiru will not be able to tribute Diabolos, and Gamma Seal will not be able to tribute Diabolos either, because it says your opponent cannot tribute this face-up card on the field. Wait, what? Yeah, this is a bit weird. Whatever, I won't think too much on it. It's probably correct. So then, let's see. For Ecclesia effect as well, I guess it's worth mentioning. Let's see. I believe this does not start a chain. There is no colon here, so this is an inherent summon. I can tell you that much. And then it has all this. This starts a chain. Yep. And then this is a cost. So then it happens. Okay. Well, got sidetracked there. Where was I? Alright, removal. So then there's also like shuffle back into the deck. We could go show off Boxy here, but Boxy is boring. So let's instead do this one. Wrong one. How about this? Oh yeah, here we go. So we have Ignister Prominence. Shuffle a card into the deck. So that's another type of removal. So far we have Destruction, and then we have Shuffle into deck, put back in hand, whatever. So these do a bit of different things, and the relevance, I guess it matters depending on what game state and what deck you're playing specifically. But anyways, this just shuffles a card on the field into the deck here, in this case. And then let's go with one of the best removal here. So then there is Send to the Graveyard. So Send to the Graveyard is different from Destruction. So cards with Destruction protection on them can't actually work on like this. So for example, let's say we have Eldlick. Eldlick also has a Send effect. But anyways, Eldlick effect makes it so it cannot be destroyed by card effects. But you can still shuffle it back into the deck. You can banish it. You can banish it face down. You can send it to the graveyard. You can do a bunch of different things. And then it also somewhat matters, but generally cards that target do so like before the chain happens, right? I think that's worth mentioning. So like with like DPE, you know, oh, destroy Phienex Enforcer. This actually does not target, meaning you choose the targets during the chain resolution, or like whenever this effect is resolving is when you actually choose the targets you're destroying. But if a card targets something, then then you have some options, I guess. Like you could remove the target from the field, I guess, of whatever's being targeted. It depends on the exact situation, but yeah. I guess you can move stuff around. You can your opponent can target the thing you're targeting to like make your effect not work. I guess in this case, Mezuki is a good example. Mezuki will banish itself for cost and also target a zombie monster in your graveyard. So that's all technically the cost. So this also starts a chain. Wait, this doesn't have a colon. So that's confusing. I guess this is an older card. Well, I'll just pretend that's not too important to think about, but anyway. Mezuki will then target, and then let's say your opponent hits you with a Called by the Grave. They will know what card you want to be bringing back with Mezuki because it targets, and then they can Called by to target the monster that you are also targeting, banishing it, preventing you from special summoning it from the graveyard, I guess. And I think that covers most of the things here. But yeah, a lot of cards have different kinds of protection as well. So like with the example of Diabolos being unable to be tributed, for example, or like Eldlick after it's summoned with the effect to be non-destructible, but they're still affected by all sorts of different kinds of removal. So then let's see. I believe the last thing we have to cover is unaffected monsters. So when a card says they're unaffected, they are truly unaffected. There is not a single card effect that you can use on this that will affect this card. And that includes both players, since it does not specify. So if you were to use Dark Hole, it would not affect your Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon. If you were to activate like a card that increases the attack of Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon, it would do nothing. The only thing that affects Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon is itself or a card that can negate it before it's technically finished summoning. So if it negates the effect prior to it becoming unaffected, kind of like with a continuous effect, that can kind of happen. But I wouldn't worry about that too much. But basically, like, if Skill Drain is on the field already face up before Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon is summoned, it will not be unaffected. But if Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon was first, then Skill Drain would not work on Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon. And I guess just for clarity, this is Skill Drain. We'll just focus on this effect. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters while they are face-up on the field, but their effects can still be activated. And yeah, that's most of it, I guess. Let's go for one more. We have Yugioh Math Mech Final Sigma. It is unaffected by card effects, except for Math Mech cards, while in the extra monster zone. So this is mostly unaffected now, but if you were to activate like one of your Math Mech monsters or cards to boost the attack of Final Sigma or whatever, that would still work. But same with before, like, it kind of specifies though how your monster's unaffectedness works. I suppose you just have to read the cards, but yeah, I think that's about everything here for this video. I don't think I'm forgetting anything important. I'm making sure right now that I'm not forgetting anything importante. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, right? Yeah. So I think that about covers general monster effects and such, and I will leave in the description a link to the problem-solving card text page. There's a lot of different terminology being used, like I don't remember the exact terms unless I hear them, but like I don't remember. There's a term for shuffle as well. So for destruction effects, it's pop, like pop 2, destroy 2 cards, whatever, same thing. And I guess for spin, that's right. That's what it was. Spin is the term people use for shuffle back in deck. Oh yeah, got that. So we got that out of the way. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, where I won't well, yeah, I guess that's when we can finally talk about chains. Oh boy, we'll surely enjoy talking about chains. So I guess before we sign off here, should I? Nah, alright. We'll stop here for this video. So next video, it'll be about chains, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.